back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. You know, I always say today. Well, I got a gentleman on the show today. One of the things we do on the show, with it being called show business, and the show side is mostly how you look and how you sound. Well, the business side includes the products, the manufacturers, the marketing, promotion, and so forth. And as you know, we have done that. I'd like to give the drummers a chance to take a look at the business side of it, to understand endorsements and so forth. Well, we have just that today. We got the man on the show today, and he's also a drummer, and we're going to talk about that too.
Of course.
You help me welcome the Vice President of Percussions at the Dario and Company,
Eric.
Now, am I saying this right? Ricciardi?
Ricciardi, either one. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that something?
The Italian pronunciation. Italian company, so I'll try to keep it proper. Eric Ricciardi.
Oh, see, I never heard it like that. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Well, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Proud to be here.
Appreciate you being here. So let's dive right in. I read somewhere where it says that you lead or head up the Evans drumheads and accessory area, also ProMark drumsticks and mallets worldwide. Is that your title, and what does that consist of?
That's true. So yeah, so we have so at Dario there are three major business units. There's guitar, which is most people would associate the brand Dario with, guitar, strings, and accessories. There's band and orchestra, so that's brands like Rico, the Reeds, and then all of the orchestral strings and accessories with that. And then the third business unit is percussion, which is the business unit that I lead. So that, as you mentioned, it's Evans and accessories and ProMark. So we just divide the company kind of into three main sections, and then there's a leader for each of the sections globally. So yeah, so I lead those brands and have a team of product managers and specialists and marketing folks, and then we have a lot of global offices and specialists that support the brand. One of the unique things about Dario is how global we are. When you say global with some brands, it's like, oh yeah, we'll sell it to a distributor in Japan or China or Europe, but really this is we have boots on the ground in most major countries and regions, and a lot of that is part of the reason why we can be so successful in those regions. Yeah, so it's global leadership over those brands, and we've rolled a couple other PureSound snare wires, HQ real field practice pads. Some of those have kind of been rolled into those two parent brands.
Tell me, Eric, how did you get that job over at the Dario?
Yeah, so long story short, so I actually, I'll start with the most recent history, and then, kind of why I made the jump. But I started at Dario in late February of 2020. So I moved from Ohio. I worked in BG, consumer packaged goods, for Procter & Gamble, and then moved here to Brooklyn, New York to take a product manager role at Dario for percussion. And then, stuff hit the fan with COVID a couple weeks later. So I left that company that was selling Charmin and moved to the epicenter of a pandemic. So, through that, a lot of things changed, and I was able to, had a lot of great opportunities. We did some unique things during the pandemic, face shields. We were able to kind of keep our business going that way by, reinventing the drum head for something useful. And then, one thing led to another, and this job opened up, and there I was. And I think I officially got the vice president title at the end of 2020, and yeah, been here ever since. So it's a huge change from Ohio, to live and work here. It's a huge change from Procter & Gamble and kind of my other background, which was for Pampers and more brand management for those traditional CPG big box brands. But I've really been lucky to kind of combine all that, and as you mentioned, I'm a drummer, so it's awesome to be able to work on something that you're passionate about, play drums every day, talk to people like you, and get more energized to do it. So yeah, it really worked out.
For the sake of time, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. Let's go right to the drummers. do you get your hands involved with endorsements and things of such as well?
So we have an AR department here, and the way we organize that, there's an AR department that works across the brands, and then there's specific folks that handle percussion. So we'll be in conversations with those folks, especially when it comes to anything that we're doing with working with marketing. How we activate our artists and influencers, how any new product ideas and things like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's our artist relations that they're kind of really like on the ground, and depending on the size of the partnership, if it's a big one, if we want to do something beyond just a regular endorsement deal, we want to have products associated, and I'm definitely getting that. But the side of the job of the contracts and licensing and all of the endorsement deals, unfortunately, that is the part that I always have to get into. So I don't always get the fun side of it.
I can't understand. What is the relationship between the drummer and the company on endorsements that the young drummers can understand that?
Yeah, it really varies. And there's so many different levels, as far as, let's say you're, an up and coming drummer, maybe you've really started to get a good national tour or starting to get some notoriety on Instagram. For the most part, what we like to work with percussionists and drummers that have already been playing our brands and that decided on their own that these are the brands that they love to use, and so that's really what typically gets noticed. And sometimes people are moving around between brands before they get signed, but yeah, usually that that first signing is we're looking as a company for a win-win relationship. There's a lot, obviously, product and a lot of things that we can provide drummers support with, even outside of just the product and endorsements and things like that. But we're also looking to grow our brand, so it's important that the drummer, there's something else that they can offer, whether that's exposure, or if they've really cultivated a good Instagram following, or if they have a amazing product idea like Carter McLean recently. You'd think there was little to be done in the world of sticks, but he really had a unique idea and was working with our artist relations and our product team, and that relationship really blossomed, turned out on the ProMark side. And then as that relationship really sort of started to expand, brought him over to Evans. So that's one way. And then of course there's drum lines and schools and institutions, but that's kind of like how a drummer that's just coming up would work. Of course, like somebody like Anderson .Paak, it's a different relationship. We're looking for all the opportunities, marketing, when shooting videos as much as possible. There's a lot of different levels.
Tell me some of the do's and don'ts drummers shouldn't be saying when they call in the company and they've got this idea for a relationship with the company. Yeah,
so there's, again, like I said, there's a couple ways in. The world we live in is, in a world of influence. There's at least one way early on for any of the artist relations or marketing or business folks to see how influential a drummer is, right? You can go to Instagram, you can go to YouTube, you can look at how many followers, how many likes. But it's a pretty tight and pretty small industry where, everybody knows everybody to an extent. And if you're just starting to break through that scene, the intro conversation, is usually, here's my stuff, here's how many followers I have, here's the band that I play for, here's the music, here's why I think a partnership would be good for both of us. And I think what a lot of people, a lot of drummers might think of is like, okay, when I get to this level, then I'm ready for an endorsement. And when I get to this level of drumming and my skills, my chops, then I'm ready for that endorsement from this brand or from this brand. And it's definitely part of it, but coming from the business aspect of things, there's got to be like I said, it's got to be a win-win, right? So there, you can be the best drummer in the world, but nobody's paying attention. And, that doesn't do as much for us as somebody that's really out there promoting themselves, promoting the brand loyal, And we're not looking for just drummers too. We're looking for good humans out there, right? To represent these brands. We want people that align with the values that we align to.
I got here, you started playing drums at 3 years old?
Yeah, so that's what the picture shows. I started banging on pots and pans literally, and then I think my parents bought me whatever that Stardust, whatever that intro level Walmart kit is, and blew through those heads immediately. So yeah, I've been drumming in some way, shape, or form my whole life. Really kind of got to rudimentary percussion, playing marching snare and DCI and WGI and places like that. So I think through high school and college, that was kind of the way that I gravitated in teaching. But always playing drum set and it was in the studio, the jazz studio at Ohio State for a bit. So I was always playing drum set, but I knew from the especially in college, I knew I wasn't the best drum set player in the world. I knew that that probably wasn't my ticket. So kind of took a different path to trying to make a dent in this industry, and that's how I ended up here.
Tell me about being on the board of WGI Independent World. Do I have that right?
Yeah, so I'm on a specific group. It's Fourth Wall. So that it's kind of a newer group, but from friend of mine from Cincinnati that I knew and was involved even before I worked for D'Addario. I think a lot of that, especially in the world of WGI and DCI, like these are nonprofits, and it's really, especially for the newer groups, it's a lot of expenses and it's really tight. To put on the shows that they put on. I don't know if you've been to WGI finals or DCI, but it's amazing what these groups can pull off. And sometimes behind the scenes, it's hard to get those groups going, especially the new ones. So it was great to be a part of that, from the beginning, from the founding, and to kind of help them out from the business side a little bit, add that perspective.
Talking a little bit of drum technique, you sound like, and probably do know a little bit about the old school guys. What do you think of drumming these days? The speed and all the speed and stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I think. Obviously, there's a lot of different styles that are coming through. You got a lot of people that are taking the rudiments around the kit and playing a bunch of notes and filling more of the space. And you got the reverse where people are laying back. And I think you see it just like any culture. I remember growing up and seeing a lot of, and wanting to emulate these drummers that are playing all the fills and watching modern drummer DVDs and like learning all the double bass things. And then I'm starting to feel, and I'm starting to see, just like anything in the culture, where people kind of like the pendulum swings all the way back. And there's kids out there that just lay down such a great groove. So I think it comes and goes, and I think more than ever, you're seeing a lot of different styles of playing. If anything, in the pandemic, when it caused people to kind of just like slow down, like the gigging stopped, and obviously there's a lot there that's not great for the industry, but it drummers got a chance to kind of reinvent themselves. And most everybody that I'm talking to, and myself, notes got cut out, right? It went the other direction, but I like it all as long as it's in time.
I move you on. Eric, do you think you will ever see pocket and grooving again?
What's that?
Do you think we'll ever see pocket players and grooving again on a drum kit instead of blazing?
So. I hope so. I think we have a chance with this generation, and it's just it's going to take a different part of it. It might not be the mainstream music. A lot of that has been taken up by electronics and drum machines, and that's just straight on the metronome. You don't feel that back there, but I hope it that becomes more organic, because that's where that's the part of our music, that's the culture that needs that groove. And you and I know that, and people can't describe it, but man, I tell you, if live drummers get used in these tracks more often, you feel a good groove, you know, it's people are going to notice. They might not be able to say. So I hope it swings back, but who knows?
Yeah. Eric, we have a thing we do on the show we call Word of Advice, where I ask the guests, I ask the drummers if they will leave a word of advice for the up and coming drummers and even the guys at the next level, but that are trying to get traction in the game. Would you leave them a word of advice?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll try to take it from, from my perspective, not being, I mean, you call it the Extraordinary Drummer Show. I wouldn't consider myself an extraordinary drummer, but to those out there that, think there's just one path, the best thing you can do is create a new path, whether that's in the music that you're playing, the style, your setup, the way you present yourself online, or if it's a business that you really want to run. We have school, we have rudiments, we have all these curriculums, and you need to learn the fundamentals. But once the fundamentals are down, just take a step back and say, all right, what do I really want out of my life in drumming, and what's the impact I want to make? For me, I'm probably not going to be on a lot of like tracks in Nashville or LA or anything like that, but I feel like the impact is there. So it can be like that for other percussionists, as long as you know that about yourself and identify it.
Before I get to my last question, thank you for that. Talk a little bit about the D'Addario Foundation College Scholarship Fund, if you will, please. Yeah,
so the D'Addario Foundation, it's one of the greatest parts about working at D'Addario. I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me on this, but I think about 10% of our profits or more go to the D'Addario Foundation, and they do a lot. With that, there's a lot of scholarships involved. So, one of the big things they do is to find individuals that, either might not be able to get a scholarship or they're underserved in one way, shape, or form, and make sure that they have the ability either to go to college, sometimes it's to a music camp, sometimes it's just supplying product, or sometimes it's even going, the foundation will go into schools and supply a bunch of products. So it's a great thing that we do in a lot of ways, and they have a great reach.
Question I usually ask the guests at the end of the show. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but Eric, what would you want your legacy to be said, to be told?
That's a great question. I think I always kind of say I want to make a dent in the universe, and for me, my universe, and from age 3 was percussion, was being a drummer, and I can't give away all the secrets of what we're trying to do, but some of the products we have coming out is really intended to take the craft of drumming and elevate it. Go from being behind the lead singer and putting you on the front of the stage, giving that spotlight to the drummer and changing the way people perceive drumming, and giving people those tools to do that. So I hope that that legacy, at least I'm a part of that evolution. And 20, 30 years from now, people look at drumming in a completely new and elevated way.
Let me say, Eric, thank you so much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Look at your clock. We made it within 2 minutes or so, huh?
Well done. Yeah.
That's that drummer timing, huh?
Exactly. Will
you help us? Well, before I say that, you ever run into Jim around the shop there?
Yeah, he retired as CEO, but he's still involved on the every once in a while on some of the product stuff, and see him frequently.
That's my guy. I love that guy, man. I don't talk to him as talk to Joan more than I do him now, but I miss the old man. That's my guy. Hey, would you help us play?
I would
Say that
say
again?
deserving of retirement and playing golf in Florida. So I think he's done his time. He's done a lot of work.
You see him, tell him I said hello.
We'll do.
Will you help us wave goodbye to all the fans?
Thanks again.
Thank you, Eric.